Another healthcare option opens for Barbadians. The fate of a popular rural church hangs in the balance, and in sports, Ryan Brathwaite wins at the national championships.
Credible, balanced, committed. This is the CBC Evening News.
A very good evening to you. I'm Sophie Cambridge with this Sunday, June 26 edition of the CBC Evening News. In our top story tonight, a new privately funded clinic has been opened in Carrington Village, St. Michael. The clinic is the brainchild of US-based Barbadian Dr. Kirk Lambert, who grew up in the area. Speaking at the opening, MP for the area, Richard Seeley, said he wants facilities like the clinic replicated across the island. He's added that with a constantly growing healthcare budget, government welcomes any assistance in delivering quality healthcare to Barbadians.
Not only will curative medicine be taking place in here, but as I understand it, there is enough floor space that education and areas of encouraging people to deal with, yes, the chronic non-communicable diseases, but the other things that concern us, HIV, AIDS, and the like, where we can have public education occurring so people can be equipped to do what's necessary in order to prevent the need for having to basically have a prescription filled.
And Dr. Lambert says the main focus of the clinic will be providing quality professional health care to the people of the area at a reasonable rate. According to him, prevention is better than cure, and as such, education will be one of the pivotal goals of the clinic.
What we plan to do here is to organize a series of seminars every quarter where we have specialists come by the community, you're served refreshments, and you listen to and you ask questions on the ailments that concern all of us, whether it be high blood pressure, cholesterol levels that are too high, prostate cancer, diabetes. There will be a specialist here to answer all these questions.
It has not been a particularly good year for fisherfolk in Barbados, but President of the Fisherfolk Organisation, Vernal Nichols, says they're thankful to have survived another season with only one major incident, the unfortunate death of a fisherman while at sea. Ms. Nichols was speaking at a Thanksgiving and celebration service at the White Park Wesleyan Holiness Church. The service marks the start of Fishermen's Week. She says the organisation's focus is to ensure that the industry is prepared for the export market.
Over the next year, the members of the various fishing organizations led by Barnufo are hoping to engage a number of persons and organizations from both the public departments and private sectors in the hope of getting further training, the implementation of policies and regulations which will enable us to reach the required quality standards, and that is the HACCP and Codex standards, and other international standards, which would then ensure that we are properly qualified and would have no difficulties in trying to get our products into other markets.
Ms. Nichols says Barnufo will also focus on making conditions better for everyone in the sector.
We are also working with the relevant agencies who will hopefully assist us in helping both owners and fishers alike in acquiring the important insurance to cover medical issues, insurance for individuals, marine insurance to cover the boats, and of course the important national insurance scheme to ensure that members of the fishery sector, they too can have access to some of the benefits offered under this scheme.
Christians are being told to wake up and stop being hypocritical. The stern words have come from Rector of the Church of St. John the Baptist, the Reverend Wayne Curtin. Reverend Curtin was speaking during a service to launch a week of activities for the St. John Ambulance Brigade this morning. He says society is falling apart and Christians must speak out when they see people doing wrong. According to Reverend Curtin, the suggestion that Barbados is still a Christian society is also debatable given recent events.
When we are now seeing 16-year-olds in our society gunned down in drive-by shootings, when we are seeing within our society the total decay of what once made us a proud people? Where's the voice of the Christians to speak out about what took place in this community surrounding this church within the last week and a half, of where people can maliciously drive around or walk around and slash tires?
And the St. John Ambulance Brigade is hoping to have at least one person in every household in Barbados trained in first aid by next year. Commissioner Rodney Yard says this will only be possible if they boost their numbers, adding that they're always looking for new members, especially young people.
St. John Ambulance is about people, is about service, and we can't give service unless we have the people to do it. I speak to, getting more youth members in, but certainly, adults at any age certainly can certainly come. We have a fellowship, for older persons. We have active divisions, both in St. Michael, in St. George, in St. Peter, and we are currently, actually, I forgot to mention that just now, we are currently starting a new division up in St. Philip.
A decision will be made on the future of the St. Joseph Parish Church this evening. Members of the Church Council will be meeting to discuss whether services can still be held there due to safety concerns. When the CBC News visited the church this morning, we were greeted with the sight of large cracks along almost every wall of the church. Caution tape has also been placed on the inside and on the outside of the building. But despite the church's obvious poor state, dedicated worshippers could still be seen arriving, whether by bus or by car, for this morning's service. Outspoken Anglican cleric and rector of the church, the Reverend Errington Messiah, was tight-lipped about the situation, saying only that the decision to close the church for the time being is not his and will be made this evening at the meeting. We'll have more on the evening news in just a moment. Acting Minister of Culture Ronald Jones has added his voice to calls for a controversy-free crop-over. He was speaking at this year's crop-over service at the Christchurch Parish Church. Mr. Jones has asked people planning events to be conscious that there are not many spots on the island legally designated as entertainment venues. He says while regulations will change over the course of time, promoters can plan ahead to avoid problems.
The state will give you that opportunity to turn some of our streets into entertainment venues. In the school system and their halls you want to enjoy, we will comply. Just plan before time. Don't plan after time, because then the system does not act fast enough to satisfy your demands. Plan a year in advance, plan months in advance. And the Town and Country Department will comply, as they complied a few weeks ago with a simple call, please facilitate.
In the meantime, the Reverend Austin Carrington says while some have argued against it, there is a place for Christians in crop-over.
So the Christian must have their little world over here and allow the non-Christian over there to have their own way, where, when, and however they like or they choose. It must not be so, my friends in Christ. I am still convinced that we must give God thanks for the festival's contribution to economic activity in our land. We must give God thanks for the beauty and splendor of the festival. I am convinced that we must give God thanks for the creativity which is displayed in a variety of ways.
A senior executive with the National Conservation Commission wants honesty from the opposition BLP in their criticism of the government and its housing program. NCC board member Leo Graham says many people tend to forget the strides made by the Democratic Labour Party. He said in the early 70s, the DLP, under the leadership of the Right Excellent Errol Walton Barrow, was the architect in providing poor working-class Barbadians with improved living conditions. This, he says, continued even in spite of the trying economic challenges. Mr. Graham made the comments recently during the Democratic Labour Party's weekly lunchtime lecture.
Deacons, Hayesville, Wildy, Ipang, in St. James there, one stage. All of these places were places that were developed. Because what Alba did, Alba realized that the middle class, the poor people now has risen to permanent jobs. And the little chattel houses were no longer any room or comfort for them. And assisted ably by no other but the Costa Edwards, who had his housing program, the chattel house program.
In other news, the YWCA's Give Back program is stronger than ever as the organization celebrates its 61st anniversary this weekend. Members of the Young Women's Christian Association gathered at Cape Shepherd Broad Street yesterday to heighten awareness of their Give Back program. The program, which started last year, encourages volunteerism in society. President of the YWCA, Marilyn Rice-Bowen, says for the anniversary, they've decided to celebrate and interact with the public.
We are here in an outreach capacity, introducing people to the YWCA and of course letting them know that we are more than the Breakfast Club, and using that opportunity to get some volunteers, also to get some members as well. So we are here, just reaching out to Barbados.
And Mrs. Rice-Bowen says the Give Back campaign has heightened the need for volunteers. She says within the YWCA, programs will be expanded and new ones created.
We want more volunteers. We have a whole set of programs that we want to turn out at the YWCA, but we need some more hands. Our Breakfast Club is very well staffed. Our Reading Club is well staffed. We have our early childhood education, but we need some more volunteers so that we could push some more programs out.
Barbadians continue to heed the call to get fit and healthy. This was evident yesterday afternoon as scores of people came to the CBC car park for a free exercise session. The event is one of several activities forming the CBC campaign, Changing Our Community One Step at a Time. Participants had their blood sugar, cholesterol and blood pressure tested. They also took part in aerobics with the trainers from the Surfside Wellness Centre. The CBC's Marketing and Corporate Communications Officer, Diane Fort, says the initiative is the third that CBC has hosted to date and the response has been positive. She's also noted that the audience can stay tuned for even more. International R&B superstar Fantasia Barrino is back in Barbados. Fantasia arrived with her daughter and entourage this morning for her concert at the Garfield Sobers Gymnasium tonight. This will be the singer's second performance in just over a year after bringing down the house at last year's Barbados Music Awards. Her manager, Brian Dickens, says Fantasia has fallen in love with our island.
We've had a lovely time with our first experience since the last time that we visited Barbados. Fantasia released her CD. We successfully won a Grammy. We've broke a lot of ground in international territory because of people like yourselves have been supporting us. We're in the studio now working on Fantasia's fourth CD. We hope that we'll be able to deliver a great product back to you. We hope that everyone will come out tonight to the concert and enjoy and share the love. Barbados gave us so much.
Sean Green will be along shortly with the sports.
And good evening, I'm Sean Green with the CBC Sports. World champion hurdler Ryan Brathwaite was among the winners last night when the National Track and Field Championships continued at the National Stadium. CBC's Andy Thornhill reports on some of the highlights.
The women's 100 meters final robbed after Jade Bailey was DQ'd, but it did not detract from the burning speed of Sharika Reese, winning in a canter from Rollins. On to the men's 100 meters, and this one would be all about Andrew Hines. Once they had reached the 40-meter mark, the man that trains with Asafa Powell pulls away from the rest of the field. 400 meters open for women. Shade Seeley of Barbados taking an early lead. Could she maintain it? And she looked good up to this point going down the backstretch. Cool as ever, led them into the straightaway. But here comes Kanik Alexander of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. More in the tank, a late charge that takes her past Seeley and to the victory. The big one, the open 400 for men. Favorite to win, the unbeaten Antonio Maskell up against the Norgrove and the likes of the Davises. Norgrove leads coming into the straightaway, but here comes the man from Ellerslie, the lad from Pacers. He outpaces them as he's done all season. Maskell to the line ahead of Davis and Norgrove. Wow, the crowd really got excited by that one. Earlier in the campaign, we had the world champion in the 110-meter hurdles, Ryan Braffett, taking on the cream of the crop locally, and although not at his very best, was still able to stave off the charge of the field. Fourth second, and coming in third, we had Shane Braffett, and a good performance as well from Greg Marr-Swift. Braffett, not at his best, but at home, he's still the king. Andy Thornhill, CBC Sports.
Well, from one Ryan to another, a brilliant double hundred by Empire batsman Ryan Hines was the highlight of the final day of the fourth series of matches in the Lime BCA Division 1 competition. Hines made 208 as ICBL Empire closed on 488 for 9, and this was against Tele Barbados Carlton, who made 289 at Blackrock. At Beckles Road, ASA Field Pickwick 133 and 198 for 6, YMPC 177 for 9. At the Park, Shamar Brooks made 99 in Supercenter Spartans innings of 214. This was in reply to 182 made by Sagicor UWI. In other drawn games, CGI Sandy Crest Maple, the current leaders after this series, 226 for 8, Lime 120 and 34 for 1 at Trents. Scores at Paragon, Banks 192 and 106 for 6, the BDF Sports Program 218, Guardian General Barbados Youth 261 and 122 for 3, this was at Leicester Vaughan, and BNB St. Catherine 271, Ami Proverbs, he made 88. Darren Matthews is the 2011 National Road Race Champion. He had to sprint to the finish to fight off Jason Perryman this morning in the Top Rot Circuit. CBC's Anne-Marie Burke was there.
The Top Rot Circuit was the venue for the 2011 National Cycling Road Race. And although early controversy saw half of the initial starters boycotting the race, 23 riders took to the course. One of the most challenging parts of the circuit was the climb from Top Rock to Graham Hall, and it showed as the riders ascended, pumping their legs for all their worth. As usual, a lead pack emerged among the seniors midway through the race, with the likes of Darren Matthews, Philip Clark and Jason Perryman. Here they are at the Garfield Sobers roundabout. With 5 laps to go, a leader emerged in Philip Clark, but the chase pack was not far off. But continuous struggles with cramps caused Clark to lose the lead, and the sprint came down to Matthews and Perryman, with Matthews winning out, much to the delight of his family and well-wishers. Clark had to settle for third.
It's a sensational feeling. Put so much pressure on myself for this one because so much talk and all the controversy, and I just had to prove myself today. And I certainly went out of my way to do it. It was certainly a chaotic race, hard, everything. Our plan went totally out of whack in the first half of the race. And I was under pressure to restructure our plan, but then everything came together.
Other winners were Russell Elcock in the juniors. Not much competition. Actually, he's unbeaten now 2 years. Sedwin Jones in the masters, sprinting away from Gregory Catwell. Anne-Marie Burke, CBC Sports.
There is a division in the Barbados Cycling Union following a boycott of this morning's national road race by the majority of cyclists who turned up for the event. Following that story is Anne-Marie Burke.
At this stage, things look pretty normal. Cyclists lined up, final instructions being given, but when the national road race actually got going, only half the cyclists were competing. The others literally walked off the line. The Barbados Cycling Union had a boycott on their hands.
The cyclists have decided not to participate in today's national road race because of the change of dates. The date was changed from June to September, and then within a very short space of time changed back to June from September. They should have at least consulted the managers of the teams and whatnot and give them enough notice and reason for the change. We had requested a meeting and we had requested a response from them. We sent in a letter asking them for a meeting and we didn't get the meeting.
From the National Cycling Union's end, they have deemed the cyclists who did not ride as non-finishers. However, with regard to the issue in contention, the BCU says decisions were taken in mandate with the international rules.
The UCI has a ruling that races, National Road Race Championships, should take place within the first 26 weeks of the year. When our original program went out to cyclists, we had it within the first 26 weeks of the year, and we had, because of the kind of confusion that was going on around the stadium, we were thinking that we should change it. However, we had to resort to the first 26 weeks of the year. We did send out something saying in September. But when we recognized the amount of racing that's happening in September and the people that will be out of the country, it was propitious for us to put back the race as the original date.
Now, CBC Sports is in possession of the correspondence between both parties in the matter, the concerned cyclists as well as the Barbados Cycling Union. The initial letter was sent from the concerned cyclist to President of the Barbados Cycling Union, Mr. Keith Yearwood, on June 10th, requesting a meeting as to the change of date for the National Road Race. In this letter, they asked that within 48 hours that the Barbados Cycling Union do send a response as to just when the two parties can meet and discuss the issue. The Barbados Cycling Union then responded on June 12 to Mr. Ian Knight, who represents the cyclists, stating that they are willing to meet with the group of concerned cyclists. However, they need an agenda of the matters to be discussed at the meeting so that they can proceed. They then responded on June 15th in another letter to the Barbados Cycling Union, saying that the main matter for discussion will be the changing of the date for the National Road Race from September back to June. To date, none of the two parties were able to convene this meeting. So where does the BCU now stand?
To date, we don't see it as an infraction. We see that people paid their dues, they came to the line, they registered, they started the race was started, they did not write it off, so that will come out as a DNF, did not finish. So that's it. As far as the Barbados Cycling Union is concerned, anything that we stand ready to talk to any cyclist, any club who want to talk to us. We don't have any axe to grind with anybody. We will deal with it as we see it fit.
Anne-Marie Burke, CBC Sports.
And that's it for sports. Carrie Ann O'Neill is next with the weather news.
Good evening. Showers and thunderstorms prevailed in Barbados today. The maximum temperature was 30 degrees Celsius, the minimum 23.6 degrees. At 6 o'clock, the temperature stood at 28.2 degrees Celsius, the relative humidity 85%, and the winds coming in from the east at 22 kilometers per hour. We take a look now at our satellite photo, where a tropical wave moved across Barbados early this morning. That wave is now located at 60 degrees west. The system generated cloudy skies along with showers and thunderstorms here in Barbados as well as over the Windward Islands. The Met Office recorded 10.8 millimeters of rainfall. Meanwhile, a high-pressure ridge maintained mostly dry and stable conditions over the northern islands, although a trough system in the area pushed some high-level clouds over those islands. We also have another tropical wave, this time at 27 degrees west. Most of the showers along the intertropical convergence zone will continue to monitor that system. The seas there remain moderate in open water with swells peaking at 2.5 meters. We urge sea bathers and small craft operators to exercise caution at this time. For tonight and tomorrow, we're expecting that the high-pressure ridge will be the dominant feature. As a result, we are expecting mostly fair skies come tomorrow, a few overnight and early morning showers, as we do have sufficient moisture to generate those showers. Over now in the Western Caribbean, well, they have a trough system there generating a few showers over Puerto Rico. Elsewhere, the high-pressure ridge dominated conditions. As a result, they had fair skies. We move now to the forecast. The sun is expected to rise at 5:34 and set at 28 minutes after 6. The first high tide at 16 minutes past midnight. The first low at 13 minutes after 7 in the morning. The sea is moderate in open water with swells peaking at 2.5 meters. Small craft operators and sea bathers should continue to exercise caution. The winds coming in from the east-southeast to the east at 15 to 40 kilometers per hour. Barbados tonight will be fair to occasionally cloudy with some scattered showers. Come tomorrow, after a few early morning showers, it will be mostly fair, breezy and hazy. Over the Lesser Antilles tonight, it will be generally cloudy to overcast with showers and isolated thunderstorms and gusty winds, especially over the northern windwards and southern Leeward Islands. Come tomorrow, it will be partly cloudy to cloudy, breezy and hazy with some scattered showers. We leave you now with some forecast weather conditions.